Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen we're making a light and delicious Chantilly cake. So let's get started. First off, preheat your oven to 350 so it's nice and hot. And now in a large bowl, we're gonna combine all the dry ingredients, starting with 3.5 cups or 420 grams of cake flour. Cake flour has less protein than all-purpose, and it gives you a more tender, light cake, a more cakey cake. To puff things up, 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. This cake is so light, melt in your mouth, lovely vanilla flavor, but it has all that whipped cream frosting and tons of berries throughout. It's one of my favorites. And half a teaspoon of salt for some contrast. Grab a whisk. Our scale is done. And give this a really good mix. You want to distribute all that salt and baking powder so everything tastes the same and rises the same. And by the way, if your flour was clumpy, you could totally sift it out. That can happen with cake flour because it's more finely milled. The dry is done. Let's get to the wet ingredients. Into the bowl of our stand mixer, fitted with a paddle attachment or a big bowl if you're using a hand mixer, we're gonna cream 1 cup or 226 grams of room temperature unsalted butter. And I just wanna point out, it should be nice and softened. My finger goes in easily, but it's not melty. Butter temperature is actually really important when you're making a cake. Because this cake has all those fresh berries, all that whipped cream, you're going to be refrigerating any leftovers. So butter can be a little bit problematic. We're gonna add a little bit of oil to soften it up, so even when it's cold, the cake will be a perfect texture. But for now, cream the butter for 1 minute on medium. Measure out 2 cups of sugar while you're waiting. Once your butter is nice and creamy, start adding the sugar. 1 cup and 2. That's 400 grams of granulated sugar. Remember, the butter sweetens your cake, but it also softens the cake. So having cake flour, which gives you that tender crumb, with the right amount of sugar, it's a melt in your mouth cake. This type of cake became really, really popular, at least where I'm from in Los Angeles, because of Whole Foods and a certain bakery called Sweet Lady Jane's, which is gone now. It's so sad. They both have a berry cake. One's called a triple berry. I think one's called a Chantilly cake. And it's a lovely vanilla cake with a whipped cream frosting, tons of berries, and it is just plain delicious. My one gripe is that at both places, the cake can be a little dry because it's not fresh. So you're gonna make a fresh version, all perfect natural ingredients, and it's gonna be amazing. Let this butter beat for 4 minutes until it's light and fluffy. I scraped it down halfway through. I'm gonna let it finish up, and then we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients in. While this mixes up, I'm gonna crack 4 eggs into a bowl just so I can be sure that no shells go into my cake. That would not be melt in your mouth delicious. 2. And I'll point out, these eggs really should be room temperature. You do not want to have cold ingredients in your cake. And 4. Now we're gonna add our eggs in one at a time. 1. The problem here is that you have a wonderful, thick butter sugar mixture and very watery eggs. So you really want them to incorporate properly, which means scraping the bowl down after each egg is added. Special attention to the bottom of the bowl. 2. Another scrape down. If your butter is the perfect temperature, meaning it's at the softened stage, and if you scrape your bowl down in between, you should have a really lovely consistency. If the eggs or the butter are too cold, you'll tend to get a cottage cheese mixture right away. One more scrape. And the last egg goes in. I was mixing on medium the whole time, by the way. As you can see, I have a lovely, really homogeneous consistency. The egg was perfectly incorporated, and that's just gonna help the crumb be so much better. If it's a little cold and you have that cottage cheese action happening, it'll still be okay. Still make the cake. It's just, this is the best way to do it. Our vanilla cake gets some flavor from a tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now go to low on your mixer, lowest setting, and we're gonna add 1/3 of the flour mixture in, followed by 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. This will just soften the cake so it's not hard coming right out of the fridge. I have 1 cup of milk right here. I'm gonna add half of that, and I wanna say your milk should be room temperature to even slightly warm, just not ice cold. So half the milk goes in. Another 1/3 of the dry mixture. The remaining milk. Adding in portions like this just gives you a really nice mix. Otherwise, your cake could be a disaster in here. Mix this until it is almost combined, just a few streaks of flour left. And now we're gonna stop it and finish it by hand. You could have followed the recipe to the T. Everything was done perfectly. You measured your flour with a scale. You had the perfectly temped ingredients. But if you overmix the cake at this point, it could basically be ruined. Like, yes, you can still eat it, but the texture will be totally different. It'll be dense, it'll be like kind of gummy. And because the texture is different, you will taste it differently. Same beautiful vanilla, but they're not gonna taste the same. Scrape the bowl down and get all that flour mixed in. By the way, if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes every single week. That looks beautiful and it smells so good. I have 2 9-inch cake pans, parchment on the bottom, they've been greased, and this will make a 4-layer cake. We're gonna split these layers in half after baking. Because I'm splitting these in half, I wanna have the exact amount of batter in each. So if you have a scale, let's use it now and just get it nice and even. Divide the batter evenly in your 2 pans. 658. 730. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just that I'm dividing this into 4 layers and I don't want to have one layer that's super thin and hard to work with. That and my grandmother, who was an expert cake baker and had that special cake cutting knife to make the layers, always had hers perfect, and I don't want to do Nanny a disservice. Did anyone else call their grandmother Nanny, or is it just me? Beautiful mounds of cake batter. Let's give these a smooth so they bake really evenly. And because I want no doming, I'm gonna use cake strips today. Cake strips are just wet fabric strips that you wrap around the edge of your cake. What happens is the water will cool the exterior and allow it to bake slowly at the same time as the center, so you get a flat cake layer. If you don't use them and the cake layer gets too hot on the outside sets first, it's pretty low, but the inside keeps rising up as it's baking slower and you get a big dome. Not ideal for stacking. Nice and smooth, almost ready to go into the oven. I bought these years ago and they just last forever. You could also make them out of tin foil and damp paper towels or just wet fabric that you kind of wrap around the cake yourself. I have a post all about cake strips on preppykitchen.com, so you could check it out if you're interested. My cake layers are ready to go into the oven, 350 for 40 to 45 minutes, or until the tops are golden, they're set, and the edge is just pulling away from the pan. In you go. The cake layers are cooled, so we're gonna start the assembly, but we're gonna brush some jam onto this. You can use any berry jam you want. I chose seedless raspberry today. You don't want the seeds. You'll want 1/2 cup or 150 grams of the jam, to which you will add 2 tablespoons of water. We need to thin it out because this gets brushed onto the cake layers. Pop this into the microwave for 15 to 30 seconds or until it's just warmed. Give it a stir and we're gonna set that aside. Grab a medium bowl into which we're gonna add 4 ounces of blueberries, 4 ounces of raspberries, and 8 ounces of strawberries that you've hulled and sliced. For some added brightness, the zest and juice of 1 lemon. Squeeze that lemon juice all over the berries. Give it a good toss, and we're gonna set that aside as well. This adds a lovely bit of brightness and summery flavor in between each layer of the cake. Okay. To the bowl of my stand mixer, I'm adding 8 ounces of cream cheese, that's 1 package, and just make sure it's room temperature and not cold. We're gonna make the most amazing mascarpone frosting. You'll also be adding in 2 8-ounce packages of mascarpone. This is so creamy and lovely. If you haven't had it before, it's similar to cream cheese, but without the tang. So it's really like heavy cream made into a spreadable cheese. 16 ounces in total. Second container goes in. You can add a container of mascarpone cheese to any whipped cream batch you're making, and it is gonna be so good. It really stabilizes the whipped cream so you can use it as a frosting, and it makes it a bit more substantial, and I just love it. I highly suggest that. Pop your paddle attachment on, and we're gonna mix this on medium for about 30 seconds so it's nice and combined. Okay. All done. Measure out 3 cups or 360 grams of powdered sugar. If there are any lumps, just give it a sift. We're gonna add this in a few spoonfuls at a time while mixing on low. Give your bowl a scrape down. And continue mixing. I love seeing how the sugar changes the consistency of the 2 cheeses. At first, they're kind of like bubbly, and it looks like they're, I don't know, almost turning into something not smooth. But you add some sugar in, and it fixes all the problems. All my sugar's in. I'm giving this 1 more scrape down, and then we're gonna increase to medium and run it for 30 seconds. Medium, 30 seconds. This part's all done. Now we're gonna set this aside, grab a big bowl and a hand mixer, or a new bowl for your stand mixer and a whisk attachment. Grab 2 cups of cold, heavy cream from the fridge into a large bowl. And if it's a warm day, you could chill the bowl, you could chill the beaters. Whipped cream likes everything cold. We want to have luscious, silky peaks to give our frosting some beautiful structure. The whipped cream will, of course, lighten everything up as well and just pair so well with the berries. We're also going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, or a couple tablespoons. It's going to be delicious. My whipped cream is thickening up, but I definitely wanted to have more structure. That is almost there. I'm gonna finish this by hand. It is always best to just finish your whipped cream with a whisk and your hands so you get the perfect consistency. And you'll be shocked how quickly it goes. Perfect, nice and almost stiff peaks. See, beautiful. We're gonna combine these 2, and it's best to do it by hand. So flop your whipped cream into the mascarpone mixture. This is something I would eat by the bowlful, but we need it for the recipe. And this cake is a very easy petal design, but it takes some frosting, so you can't just go eating this by the spoonful yet. Fold this in, so scrape the bottom, bring it up, and cut through the center. Be gentle and patient. This is a delicate frosting. You might hurt its feelings. You are allowed to taste, though. Oh, that is so good. It's like, it almost tastes like custard. Woo! If your frosting got too slack when you were mixing it and it loses its structure, cover with plastic and refrigerate for 5 to 15 minutes, it really depends. and then give it a whip and wake it back up. It's no big deal. You could also add lemon juice or lemon curd, and that'll help stiffen the cream as well. These cake layers are too thick. We need more berries, more frosting, more jam. So we're gonna cut them into 4 thinner layers. If you have a cake leveler, this is the perfect time to take it out. No one surprised me with a special one, so I don't have one here. You can eyeball it, you could use toothpicks to guide you. It's really up to you. It doesn't matter if they're not perfect. Make sure you do use a serrated knife though, that's the best. My cake layers have been split. Grab your favorite appropriately sized cake plate and we're gonna go to town assembling this. Place your first piece, cut side up. There we go. This is so all of the delicious things can soak inside. Spread about 1/3 of your jam mixture onto that first layer and just smooth it out. Get some good coverage. Lovely. And about 3/4 of a cup of your delicious Chantilly frosting. Okay, spread that out into a smooth layer. Now we're gonna add about 1/3 of the berries, and it's best to use a spoon. Okay, scatter them about onto the cake. The berries are delicious, but they're also preventing all the frosting from squishing out the sides. They're providing some structural support. Pop the next layer on, cut side up, and we're gonna repeat this process. Give it a gentle press though, gentle. Add half of the remaining jam. Spread that out. Ooh, you know what? Instead of water, you could have added your favorite liqueur here. A Chambord, a cassis liqueur, a raspberry liqueur. That would be nice for adults. More frosting, smooth it out. Add those berries on. This cake's gonna go very fast, but it's pretty large, so if you have leftovers, loosely cover and pop them into the fridge. It'll last 4 days. Another layer goes on. Gently press. Last of your jam. Spread that out. More frosting. The last of the berries go on. The last piece of cake goes on top. Grab about a cup of your mascarpone frosting. And we want to crumb coat this basically. So spread it out into a very, very thin layer all over the top and side of your cake. I know a lot of you watch these videos, but don't make the recipes. That's fine. But if you're intrigued by this, but you're not a cake baker person, make the frosting, do the berries, and just like buy some store-bought like pound cake or your favorite, or even some meringues crumbled in. It's so good. Smooth this out. It does not have to be perfect. You'll find out why in our next step. Nicely crumb coated, we are going to cover this in beautiful petals. It is one of the easiest decoration techniques. It's very impressive, but it takes a little bit of time. So more time, super easy, but it's beautiful. If it's too much for you, just cover it completely with the frosting, give it some swooshes and top with berries, and you'd be done. Grab a large round tip. We're gonna load a piping bag up and get to work. Press some frosting in and draw it to the side. You can smooth things out with an offset and just draw it like that. Just keep doing that until the cake is totally covered. It's actually really fast and one of those things you can do without even thinking. Very relaxing. Oh, All right, I'm in the home stretch. Just keep going. And the top of the cake can be covered with berries, a little bit more of the buttercream. It's totally up to you. You could also leave it plain or make some room for candles. For the last one, you're just gonna do your best, and that's the back of the cake. Here we go. Cover your cake with an assortment of berries. Add a couple dollops of the frosting if desired. Allow your cake to chill for at least 2 hours before cutting. It's delicate, beautiful, and delicious. Give it a slice, and just like that, it's ready to enjoy. It's like summer on a dessert plate. Light, perfectly sweet, beautiful berries throughout, and it is just about perfect. I hope you get a chance to make this delicious recipe, and if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my cake playlist.